What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I beat myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even need a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One set. What's up, everybody? How we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the One Set Podcast. I'm Jim Green, flying solo today. My buddy Anthony Irvin fell a little under the weather. We were actually supposed to record on Monday. I had some technical difficulties. Couldn't find my adapter for my microphone. And then I just recorded the episode about a half hour ago and realized I didn't have my microphone turned on for the episode. So let's try this again. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Catch us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. We are covering Money in the Bank predictions today. We have the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view premium live event, PLE, tomorrow, coming out of the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles. We also have the Worlds Collide event with AAA, the first AAA cross-promotion event with WWE. That should be pretty exciting. We're not going to cover too much of that. We are going to talk about Chad Gable versus Hijo del Vikingo, the AAA champion, just because we have El Grande Americano in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Just qualified, beating CM Punk and AJ Styles on Monday Night Raw. Kind of interesting. Make sure you hit us up on the One Set Fam Facebook group as well. Forgot to get that one in there. My bad. Let's get into this card. There's only 4 matches. It's going to be a short episode today. We have the Women's Intercontinental Champion, Lyra Valkyria, defending against Becky Lynch. They had their match at Backlash last month. They're getting another match here. If Lyra wins, Becky's not allowed to challenge for the Women's Intercontinental title as long as Lyra is still the champion. If Becky wins, Lyra has to raise her hand. Definitely feel like Becky's getting the win here. Maybe she starts laying Lyra to waste after the match, and we get a returning Bayley. We were supposed to get Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria at WrestleMania. She got taken out backstage at SmackDown the night before WrestleMania. Insert Becky Lynch. Becky comes out the next week. We were supposed to get Bayley and Lyra Valkyria going after the women's tag team titles against Liv Morgan and Raquel at Mania, and then Becky Lynch filled in. We didn't know that Becky had taken out Bayley, Lyra, and Becky win at Mania, and then they defend the Raw after Mania. Liv and Raquel win. Becky turns on Lyra. And now we have this whole feud with Lyra, which has actually elevated Lyra. She's been talking a lot better on the mic. When I say talking a lot better, I mean they're giving her the opportunity to talk on the mic. Before that, really, it was just Lyra's really great in the ring. Cool. We had Chelsea Green doing all of the promo work with the Women's United States title over on SmackDown. And then that in-ring content, it was there, but it wasn't anywhere near as stellar as Lyra's work, my opinion. I do think we have Bayley coming in here at some capacity. I think we're going to set up for a triple threat match, maybe at Women's Evolution. So we'll see where that goes from there.
Have you ever wanted to start your podcast but didn't know where to start? The One Set Bros are here to talk to you about Zencastr. Zencastr is the ultimate-based podcasting solution and now the all-in-one podcasting platform, making podcasting easy. They've sure made it easy for us to be able to record our podcast and our episodes every week for you guys. Once you've set up your account, you're simply one click away from recording a high-quality podcast with studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. My personal favorite feature is their multi-layered backups, which ensure our recordings are always in the highest quality, even during unstable web connections. And if you thought you needed multiple tools and services for your podcast, Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform allows you to create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to Zencastr.com/pricing and use our code OneSetPod, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experience as we do with all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.
Let's go into the women's Money in the Bank match. We have Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, and Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie Vaquer just being called up to Raw this past week. She drops the women's NXT title, the NXT women's title, last Tuesday, which I actually had NXT on. I don't always tune in. It just depends on when I get out of work kind of thing. So I did happen to catch that, and I was like, that's curious. But I also knew that Mariah May was probably signing with WWE and coming over. They have the Women's Evolution pay-per-view, which they're going to try to stack as best as they can. Sure enough, we get Mariah May debuting on NXT this past week, and I was just like, oh, there it is. It makes total sense why they brought Julia and Stephanie Vaquer up. They brought Julia up a couple weeks ago to SmackDown. She is going after Zelina Vega for the Women's United States title, so it's a little curious that she's in this Women's Money in the Bank match. This Women's Money in the Bank match is probably going to be the best Women's Money in the Bank match that we've ever seen. It's got such a stacked list of competitors, and really, there can be a case made for any one of them to win. I think the odd one out here is Julia, just because she has indicated that she's going after Zelina Vega, so I don't really see that happening. Roxanne and Julia and Stephanie Vaquer being fairly new to the main roster, yes, you could go with one of them getting the briefcase. Roxanne's involvement with the Judgment Day, you could have her with the Money in the Bank, which will make things a little bit stickier in that Judgment Day locker room back there. Stephanie Vaquer, I feel like with her just coming up, I don't know if they're going to go that route yet. They very well could. I mean, she's definitely going to be the next Rhea Ripley superstar in the women's division. Alexa Bliss, I don't think, needs the Money in the Bank. She's been the women's champion before. I don't think that she necessarily needs the briefcase. She did just return after being on hiatus for a few years there. My pick for the women's Money in the Bank would definitely be Naomi, with Jade and now Bianca back in the mix. We're definitely getting that triple threat match, whether they do it at Women's Evolution in July or if they do it at SummerSlam in August. We'll see. We're going to get that match sooner than later. I don't think they draw it all the way out to WrestleMania. I do think that we could get Jade versus Bianca at WrestleMania next year. I know Anthony and I have we talked last year about that happening at this year's WrestleMania. I think that's the ultimate dream match. Once we knew Jade Cargill was coming over, we definitely had to get her and Bianca at Mania at some point. So we'll see if we get that as soon as next year, or maybe they're just holding out on it as long as they can, because once they face each other, it's kind of like Seth Rollins and CM Punk. They are each other's arch nemesis. Once you start the Jade and Bianca program, it's going to be very Rock and Austin that they face each other, they go off, do something else, and then they wind up back to each other, kind of like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Do you think Naomi is on a nice run towards the end of her career with this heel turn that she's made? We can get the women's Money in the Bank with the caution tape. I don't think Rhea Ripley needs this briefcase. She can certainly win it. We can have Mommy in the Bank. That briefcase will sell a bunch. She just doesn't need it for me. I mean, she can get inserted into a title match whenever. So throwing Money in the Bank on Rhea just seems lazy. Naomi being another obvious choice to help with the Jade and Bianca stuff. If I had to give it to someone else, I would say Roxanne, but I can also see them giving it to Stephanie. Lots of different ways that they could go with this, which makes the match enjoyable, because not really sure which way they're going to go there. On my previous recording, I talked about the tag match first, but they have announced that as the main event. So let's get into the men's Money in the Bank match, which I do think that they're probably going to wind up opening the pay-per-view with, but I could be wrong there. They're not going to do both Money in the Bank matches back to back. I think that they're going to open with the men's, then maybe do Lyra and Becky, and then do the women's match, and then go into the tag match, so that the tag match between Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul just feels like whoever wins the men's Money in the Bank at the start of the show, they get a little bit of time to breathe before they run back out there both Jey Uso being the world champion and John Cena being the WWE champion in that tag match. There's no way that the men's Money in the Bank winner isn't at least teasing a cash in, if not actually cashing in. Apparently, Triple H hates the Money in the Bank briefcase, the prop itself, which I guess is why he had Drew McIntyre burn his cash in so quickly last year. Thought Tiffany Stratton did a great job carrying that briefcase last year. She seemed like the obvious choice last year to win it, and I'm glad that she did. It wound up working out. She carried it all the way until January 3rd for SmackDown of 2025, cashing on Nia, and she's still the champion 5 months later. We'll see what happens. I don't think that Naomi, if she gets the briefcase, holds on to it very long. I do think she's going to cash in on Tiffany, and then we wind up getting that. We could get Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton at Women's Evolution so that we could save the triple threat with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair for SummerSlam. Totally wouldn't hate that. You get Jade Cargill with the title at some point, and then you have Bianca chasing Jade. That's a different dynamic, right? But who knows? We could get Bianca back with the title, and then Jade's chasing after Bianca. Lots of different ways you can go there. But again, let's get back to the men's Money in the Bank match. We have Solo Sikoa versus LA Knight versus Penta versus Seth Rollins versus Andrade versus El Grande Americano. So let's talk about Chad Gable real quick, which everybody basically knows Chad Gable is El Grande Americano. We have some people kayfabe saying they can't be the same person. Chad Gable is facing El Hijo del Vikingo at the Worlds Collide event happening right before Money in the Bank at the Kia Forum right across the street. Something tells me, and this is my hot take, Chad's going to get pretty banged up in that match at Worlds Collide, and somehow El Grande Americano is unable to compete in this ladder match. This opens up for perhaps you could do CM Punk versus AJ Styles as a last chance qualifier, but that being said, why don't you take the other two competitors that lost the other 5 qualifiers for them to get a last chance to get into the match? So maybe that doesn't work out here. Kind of thought CM Punk was a good choice to have Money in the Bank, although he did win it twice and successfully cash in 2 times in a row. So he doesn't really need it. Again, he can get inserted into a heavyweight championship match at any given point, although he hasn't. And that's probably because they weren't ready to take the title off of whoever was holding the title, albeit Gunther with the World Heavyweight Championship championship. He was clearly dropping it to Jey Uso, and Cody was holding on to his title to drop it to John Cena. So I guess CM Punk not being in any of the title matches up until, well, now makes sense, but he could easily get inserted into a title match without the briefcase. So I don't think he needs it per se. I just think he's a good choice. Just like Seth Rollins, he could cash in on Jey Uso. He could cash in on John Cena. So one of those two with the briefcase, they could go after either of the two. Andrade's not winning this match, so let's write that off. El Grande Americano winning Money in the Bank, not going to say it can't happen. Would be a little bit of comedy for him to win the briefcase and cash in and successfully beat Jey Uso, given we've been all clamoring for Chad Gable to get his flowers for years because the guy is a stud in the ring. The guy absolutely can wrestle. He's Kurt Angle 2.0, right? So for El Grande Americano to win the world championship on a cash-in, you know how much heat that's going to generate, right? Just putting that out there. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I do think that there's a chance that El Grande Americano is just in this match right now to swerve us away from thinking that CM Punk could potentially win if he winds up getting added in. It can't happen. Lana was in the Women's Rumble and then was injured, and then Becky Lynch just got inserted into the Women's Rumble and wound up winning, right? So it's WWE. Anything can happen. Never say never. Would love to see Penta win this match. Just love Penta, Cero Miedo. I just think him and Rey Fenix tagging together as the Lucha Brothers again is the inevitable for Penta once they do a draft or a superstar shakeup, once they start moving people around brands, which they can't find time to do right now with all of these PLEs that they have in a row. They can't seem to fit it in a time where it makes sense. It's probably going to happen after SummerSlam. Maybe it happens after Money in the Bank. We do get Night of Champions at the end of June. Yes, we get Night of Champions at the end of June in Saudi Arabia. And then we have another Saturday night's main event, Saturday, July 12th. I think you have a few weeks between there and SummerSlam. But how are you going to do a draft or a shakeup with people moving brands with all of these feuds that are still stemming off of WrestleMania and getting us to SummerSlam? Just not really sure how they accomplish it. Seth Rollins is an obvious choice here with the faction that he has now with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Him with the briefcase is good just because he could cash in on either Jey Uso or John Cena, on any champion. Anyone can cash in on any champion, but when you take someone like Seth Rollins or CM Punk, they could really go after either one. I feel like if LA Knight gets it, it's interesting to say, because I feel like just because they're on their brand doesn't mean that they can't cash in on the other brand. I think LA Knight's time was a year or two ago for him to get Money in the Bank. Would I love to see him get Money in the Bank here? Sure. You're in LA. Why not? If it's going to be any of the 6 men in the match, I am going to go with LA Knight as my pick. If Seth Rollins gets it, I will not be surprised. If El Grande is taken out of the match and CM Punk is put in, won't be surprised. I do think Roman Reigns comes back to cost Seth Rollins, but again, won't be surprised if Seth Rollins winds up with the briefcase. It just makes a lot of sense. I do think if Roman Reigns makes his return and costs Seth Rollins from getting that briefcase, why not have LA Knight get that briefcase? I don't think Roman Reigns comes back and costs Seth Rollins and then CM Punk gets the briefcase. If CM Punk gets added into this match somehow, I don't know that we get Roman Reigns coming out here. Solo Sikoa is not winning the briefcase. If he wins a briefcase, I will have my fingers crossed for a failed cash-in at some point. I do like Seth Rollins with the briefcase just because of the tag match. I like CM Punk with the briefcase cashing in. I like CM Punk or Seth Rollins with the briefcase because you have the tag match with Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul to main event Money in the Bank. You have both of your main champions on the men's side in the ring at the same time. Again, Triple H not liking the briefcase. Wouldn't be surprised if he just burned the cash in right at the end of Money in the Bank. I know we love the lure of Money in the Bank. You never know when the cash in is coming. If Seth doesn't cash in, if he gets the title, the briefcase, if Seth gets the briefcase and doesn't cash in, I do think he's going to hold that briefcase for quite some time. But then again, Triple H doesn't like the Money in the Bank prop. So maybe once again, I don't know. I think both briefcases being burned early just ruins the fun that is the suspense, the sussiness behind the briefcase being carried around for some time. Priest had it for a while. The tag match, I seemingly think that Logan Paul is going to take the pin here. Maybe some dissension between him and Cena during the match. Logan Paul winds up eating the pin. Jey Uso is also pretty banged up from Seth Rollins at the end of Raw. He's got this match. He's got Gunther coming up. So I can't really see someone cashing in on Jey successfully before that because they've already been hyping that matchup. And I do overall think that we get Goldberg returning to start his program with Gunther for SummerSlam. Maybe they do that match at Saudi Arabia. I don't know. Gunther versus Goldberg. We'll see. That is the Money in the Bank card. Again, shorter episode. There's only 4 matches, and I'm flying solo here. So I wanted to just get these kind of down to the point. Once again, my name is Jim Green. Make sure that you are following us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribing to our YouTube channel. We upload episodes every Friday. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you get your podcasts. Drop a comment on your Money in the Bank predictions. If you're watching this after Money in the Bank has happened, let us know your thoughts on the PLE. We would love to hear from you. If you want to chat with us, find us at the Facebook group One Set Fam. Again, that's the number 1 Set Fam. We'd love to hear from you. Everyone take care. Until next time.